Hello everyone. Here I'm starting to read for actually my own studying for Python. This is about graphical user interface and I am in the um this title command button and responding to events 8.4. I don't know why this came for some reason. Can you go? Yeah, the previous titles was these. So let's just recap quickly. Um, in graphical user interface, we bring a easier method for user to interact with our program. We have two different ways to interact with the user, one in terminal based interface and the other one is graphical user interface. With terminal based user interface, the user need to type everything and everything should be correct. But in graphical interface, you create a windows and put any icon and field and text that you want, and the user by clicking on that and inputting everything, uh, he or she can change anything, and everything gets much easier for user, and the mistakes that may happen is also way lower. So here we're starting to create a button. I'm reading from beginning. I just starting to read for myself. Let me before that turn off the make some changes. All right. Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't show you actually. Sorry. Okay, we are here. This is our graphical user interface. Um, Topics. And I've read through that until here, and I want to read this one in front of you. Oh, all right. A command button is added to a window just like a label by specifying its text and position in a grid. It says a command button is like label, and you need to specify its text and position in the grid. So anytime that we want to specify a button, we need to specify also its text and position. Let me see. Okay, I have here text, row, and column. Okay, I already read this. few minutes ago. A button is centered in its grid. Yes, it means we have like X and Y, a grid, and button is centered in this grid that we specify by default. Centered in grid by default. The method add button accomplishes all this and returns an object of type thinker button. So it says it returns an object of type. Okay. When you return an object, it means that you return a data type that includes multiple data type inside. So it is more complicated than um, a simple regular integer or float or a string. Okay, returns an object thinker and it returns it. Okay. So anytime that we create a add button, okay. My question is when it returns the data type in the program, when we click or when we create it. Let's find that out later. Like a label, a button can display an image. Okay, usually a small icon. Okay, instead of a string. So it displays image, small icon, but it seems not a string. A button also has a state as attribute. Okay, it has a state. A state. So so it has a state. I'm going to show you more in details with the actual button command. Okay, here we create a label, just a simple hello world text like that. And here we have this add button function or method or so. Um, it has a state. By default, it is enabled. If you want to it be disabled, you need to specify a state is disabled. So here in the first version of the program, restore is disabled, and here restore this button, restore button, restore with the text, the small text of restore is disabled. This is the state that they talk. This is the return. Yes, restore button variable receives the whole object of add button uh, that carries the whole um, object of thinker. So this function returns the thinker data type to this variable. And self dot means this variable that we can find in this little um capsule that we have here. So for example, we have this class, and inside the when we call this class in our main function, we come to the class, and what causes the program to read some statements is init. So it comes and read this init, and init means like just automatically you need to read it, and init, and it gets self is just everything that is on this class. So when we have self, actually we can refer to these variables anywhere. I'm not sure about this thing that I'm saying, how much it is correct, but this is what I got. Maybe another possibility is um, self makes it. No, it shouldn't be. Okay, so self actually we can by self we can refer to our variables in the whole class possibly. For example, if we have this function inside the class, actually this is not function, this is method, because these functions that are in the class are methods, and any method should has this self. So this is another rule. So since this function is in the class and has this self, it is a method. Um, any time that we use self dot any variable, we can also call this variable outside of these method inside of the other methods. Possibly, I'm not sure about that, but this is my bounds. Let's go ahead. Here, okay, it returns this data type, and okay, we have a text as we said, and we have a maybe no, we have the location. Actually here is position, yeah, position or location in the grid. So this row and column is the position, this is the text, and also we have a state, and we might have other things as well. Let's go ahead, which can be sent to normal label. Okay, like a label, a button can display an image. Usually a small icon, okay. The button also has a state attribute, which can be set to normal to enable the button. It is default state or disable. That we talked about that already. That if we want this to be enable. You either need to uh, set it to normal, or by default it is enabled. We don't need to specify anything about the state. But on this case that we want this to be disabled, we need to specify a state equals quote unquote disabled. For example, here store this state is disabled. GUI programmers often lay out a window. Okay, GUI programmers lay out a windows and run the program to check its look and feel. Okay, they tried to see the how the windows look and feel before adding the code to respond to user events. Okay, before um make it so complicated and add maybe the buttons or such things, just create the windows and small things to see how it looks. Let's adapt this strategy for our next sound. This fanciful program, Python demo GUI, displays a single label and display one single, okay, this one single label and two command buttons. The buttons allow the user to clear or restore the label. So this one clears the label and this one restores the label. When I press this clear button like that, it clears the title or text field or label. And when it is clear, when clear is disabled and restored gets enabled. And when I press in restore, this restore gets disabled and cleared gets enabled, and the label or text field gets back. Okay, it just says about these things that I just said, and it says about this code that we just talked about. Note that the restore button widget appears in gray in the window on the left. Is initially disabled when running the first version of the user can click the clear button, no effect. Yes, in the first version, the end user. Okay, it says the user clicks on this clear, but with this code, this simple code, nothing changes. Um, that's what it was talking about when it was telling about GUI programmers often lay out a windows and like laying out a windows and run the application to check its look and feel. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about laying out this um windows but when you click, it doesn't change anything. Okay, because you don't put any functionality, you just created these functions, but there is nothing going to be changed. That's it. But no effect. To allow a program to respond to a button click, the programmer must set the button's command attribute. Okay. So other than text, location, state, we have fourth attribute, and it is command attribute. It says the programmer should specify the command attribute for button um, to do something. There are two ways to do this for command, either by supplying a keyword argument when the button is added to the windows. Okay, keyword argument. Let's go ahead and see the keyword argument command here. So we have this keyword argument like this, keyword argument state like this, keyword argument row and column and text. This one is command keyword argument. So okay, okay. Now we have command attribute keyword argument when the bottom is added to the windows or later by assignment to the button's attribute dictionary. So we have a button's attribute dictionary, and by assigning some functionality to button's attribute dictionary, we can add some functionality to the key command button. So let's try it. I wonder how we can assign something to the buttons attribute dictionary. Maybe that way. Let's go ahead later. Um, the value of the command attribute. So we have a value for the command attribute. Maybe this value it means this command um this command this button's command it returns a value to this clear button. This means the value of this command. The value of the command attribute should be a method of no arguments. The value of the command. The default value of this is a method that does nothing. The value of the command attribute. We have nothing here. Nothing here. Mhm. Maybe that's this meaning. So, in the second way to put functionality to buttons, you need to set it. Let me make it regular. Two ways to do this, either by supplying a keyword or later by assignment to the button attribute dictionary. Okay, the value of the command attribute could be a method of no argument. Okay, it means that each button has a method with no arguments. The value of the command attribute command attribute should be a method of no argument. Yeah, because when we press a button, we don't actually um output any argument to that. We don't need to put any argument to that. We just need to run that functionality or method as a functionality. So we don't need any arguments, right? Okay. Defined in the program's window class. Okay. So here we come here. We have this, for example, first button, clear button. We have this clear button and get it from this add button to clear button here, and we can access clear button by this self from other methods. And when we press this button, this method runs and it doesn't have any arguments, and we don't output any arguments to this method. The only argument is this self that is it can access to any data that is existed in this object by this self, and basically this class run this method runs, and what it does, it creates a label text equals empty. So it makes the text empty. So the first thing, it makes the label empty, label of text. Other thing, it clears the button state, the state that we said was about disable or being enabled. It makes the state of this clear button that we are talking about here, this clear button, is a dictionary, as it says here. There was a dictionary here. So we get the as I said, we get lots of data from the this add label or add button that has the type of thinker as a dictionary to this variable, and we get this variable when the user clicks on that button. We change something in this variable. First of all, we change the label of text to nothing. Then we come to the variable and makes its state to disabled. You may ask why here we make the label text empty directly without specifying clear button. But here we needed to specify what variable we are actually changing. First, let me see if we have label variable. Yes, we have label variable. So it is not directly. So for each variable, when we come to this method and the user clicks on that button, we come to this method and change this variable its text to nothing and the buttons state to disabled. And this is another variable restore button. This is another variable. So we changed three different variables when the user clicks only in one button. It changes its state to normal. It is interesting because I thought if you want to enable a button, you need to set it to enable, but it is not enable. It is normal and disable. Let me write it out. Disabled self clear. All right. And when we go, okay. So I'm writing when the button clicked. Actually, I don't think it is true. It says it's wrong. That's what it confused me. It said that we make the functionalities two ways, but it is not two ways. It there is two steps, and you should do both of them. First, you need to create this command self restore. That way the program figures out when the button clicks, it need to call this method. This method def restore. And then the second step is by returning the attributes of type thinker to this variable. After we called this method, we can change these variables. As you can see, we get the values of add label and add button to our variables here, and we just get them. So button clicked. Okay, let's go ahead. What we have here, now define the program's window class. Yeah, it says the value of the command attribute. Could be a method of no arguments. Yeah, it basically says this method of command attribute. This is the command attribute. This is the method of command attribute that is here. This one is here. This is the command. This is a method of command. Methods of hand users. This is a method of command with no arguments. Defined in the program's window class. This is the window class. This is the class and it is a window. This is defined in the window class. The default value of this attribute. The default value of this attribute is a method that does nothing. What it wanted to say. The default value of this attribute. It may wanted to say this attribute, its default value is nothing, does nothing. Let's ask ChatGPT. Did you notice ChatGPT recently is so slower? Let's go to perplexity. The statement, the default value of this attribute is method and attribute is not explicitly set. It will default to a method performs no operation. In other words, if you define a class for all that uh, and you do not define specific method, yeah, okay, that's very simple. It was saying that since here we don't call any method, by default it does nothing. The completed version of the example program supplies two methods, which are commonly used event handler for the program's two buttons. Each of these methods resets the label to the appropriate string and then enables and disables the relevant buttons. Yeah, we already go through this code and we figured out by calling clear, it sets label that has a text inside. So we have a label directory, dictionary, I mean. We have a label dictionary that with a type T thinker, T kinter, and it is a dictionary. And one of the keys in that dictionary is text. And we set the key text of that dictionary to nothing. And we go for that. Oh yeah, it answered just my question. My question was when we clear the labeled dictionary, how we can return it because we already cleared it. So how we can undo what we cleared? And it seems we hardly typed that word again here. So there is no way to redo what we deleted. We need to uh, just type it that way. And so we disabled the button and we enabled by putting normal to the state key of the other variable or dictionary. And this is the other side. Oh, we are in the end. That's good. Now, when the user clicks the clear button, Python automatically runs the clear method. Now, when the user clicks the clear button, Python runs the clear method on the window. Otherwise, when the programmer clicks the restore button, Python runs the restore method on the window. So why here we have a user and here we have a programmer? Um, now when the user clicks clear button, Python automatically runs the clear method on the Windows. So we know that. Otherwise, likewise, when the programmer clicks the restore button, likewise. So it might be a mistake here. It wanted to say user or programmer or and programmer, but here it there is a small mistake here, but basically it says when someone clicks clear, it calls clear method, and when someone clicks restore, it runs restore method. Okay, let's go for the exercise. I wonder how long it took. Oh, 1 hour. Wow. Okay, it says explain what happens when a user clicks a command function in a fully functioning GUI program. Okay, so we know that first, it returns, let's say, um, first first of all, the add button, what do you call that? Returns or oh yeah, returns a dictionary of type teacher to or bot variable. And let's say second the command attribute calls a method third, third, inside the method, the values of the dictionary variable get changed. That's it. Yeah, we answered it. Let me add that. Oh, that shouldn't. Shouldn't. Have argues. That's it. Next question. Why is it a good idea to write a test? The code for laying out the Windows components before you add the methods that performs. So we already read to to see if the window looks good and feels okay. What's that? That was not other than that. See if the window looks good and feels okay. And change it before. I wonder if there was any other reason. Do you remember? Do you think that was any other reason? I really don't remember. That's a good practice. You remember? It seems you followed this video very good. Hmm, let's just go ahead. Right. See. Looks good and feel before adding. Let's add up this set for our. Yeah. Common plot. The buttons allow the user to clear or restore the label. Yeah, that was the thing. I'm not gonna add anything else. If you think we should add anything else, you are really a smart person. Let's go ahead. Input and output within three fields. Okay, that's interesting. It says input and output within three fields. Entry field is a box that you can input, like type some numbers or some text and press enter, and it can simply input it to program. And you can also use these fields for outputting data from the program. So program can output these text or numbers to the user by these fields or entry fields. An entry field is a box in which the user can position the mouse cursor, yeah, and enter a number, a string line of text. This section explores the use of intervals to allow a GUI program to take input text or numbers from a user and display text or numbers as output. So as I said, it takes the data and outputs the data from these entry fields. The text field is appropriate for entering a single line of characters. The programmer uses the method add text field to add a text field to a window. Okay, so but for creating a text field in the windows, you need to use this add text field method. The method returns an object of type text field, which is a subclass of inter definker inter. Interesting. So buttons returned definker data type, but text fields return um text field type. We have a text field type. Very interesting. Let me write it down. Hmm. It seems we have some required arguments that are text. String to be initially displayed. Oh, so if you want to get any text, you need to initially show something. For example, put your first name, last name, and the user put his first name and last name. So it is a required argument. Row column. Optional arguments are row span, column span, sticky, width, and state. State was about enable, disabled, or normal, right? Yes. So sometimes you can disable or normal the text field. Width, you can specify how long it should be. I'm not sure, but width should be the number of characters. Sticky is when you want to specify, you want to um, show your field in the center of that grid. So if it not be sticky, it would be left aligned, but if it be is sticky, it should be in the center. That's my understanding. Column span. Column span should be equal to some number of columns, and also row span should be equal to some number of rows. That's why you wanted to be able to match some grids. For example, if your X and Y is not match exactly, for example, if you have like one row and three columns, one row and three columns, you need to do row span equals to 3 to specify row should occupy 3 rows. And also it's the same thing is with column. For example, if you have um 2 columns and 3 rows, um and the last, let's no, no, for example, your first row is 3 columns and your second row is 2 columns. You can put your text field in the second column and put column span equal to 2 to specify this text field occupy 2 columns. That way you can match your grid and your text field in your grid. Text field is aligned by default to the northest of its grid. Yeah, it is northest, like north. The text field has a default width of 20 characters. This represents the maximum number of characters viewable in the box, but the user can continue drawing to viewing them by moving the cursor key to the right. It means the width wasn't the thing that I said. I thought just the size of the data it can carry, but it said width means just the number of characters that it can show, but it can it can carry way more than that. And to be able to see other characters behind or below 20, these 20 characters that we shown, you need to put your cursor in the right or left. The programmer can set a text field state attribute. The programmer can set a text field state attribute to read only to prevent the user from editing an output field. Yeah, these are all. Um, so if you don't want the user to change, you need to set the state to read only. The text field method get text. The text field method get text. So we have a get text method. Get text. Okay. Get text returns the string currently continued in the text field. Thus it serves as an input operation. Let me write out previous things before we go ahead. Okay. The text field method. Do we have any text field method? Where do we have text field method? So we only have this add text field, and I don't see any text field method. The text field method get text. Oh, okay. So get text is one of the text field methods. Oh, okay. Get text. Let's see how they implement the get text. Get text. So we have two methods here. We need to convert in some point, and inside the convert method we assign the text variable by inputting from input field get text, and then we can output possibly to the same text field output field from output field dot set field with the argument of result. Result is the text that we get from get text upper version. So this conversion is upper version of the input. So this code changes our input to upper version and it outputs to us. Get where we get this input field and output field. From here, so we create this add label. We show input in the row 0 and column 0. We create this variable input field, and it is equal to add text field. Here we create a field with the text nothing, with row 0 and column 1. So it seems it is ahead of this input text. So it is a variable. And we say in this convert method that this text variable is input variable that gets the text. Input field is a text field variable, and by that we can get text in field. Mhm. Right. Text field get field returns the string currently contained in the text field. Thus, it serves as an input operation. So we input that text. The method set dot text. Set text. Okay. Outputs its string argument to a text field. Yes, set text is possibly a method. Yes, it is a method that sets any text that we want to any text field that we want. Possibly we want another text uh, field here to be output. For example, in this program, we could just write our input here and pressing convert, and it outputs this converted version of our string to the same field. But currently we don't want this. We want to just be output in another text field. So we can come here and see here we have output field, and that's what we uh, call set text to. We call set text to output field. This is another field and different variable from input field variable. So both of them are field text field variables, and we call different function for different variables and just calculate and do some functionality here by calling upper to this variable and set it to result and set result as argument to set text method or function. So easy. For example, converts a string uppercase. The user enters text into input field, clicks the convert button, and views the result in the output field. The output field is read only. Output is read only. Interesting. Okay. To prevent editing the result. Okay. We already go through this code. Let me just write some small things. Let me see when is our next. Oh, is it here? All right, let me something. So let just the camera gets cooler. So one interesting thing that I wanted to point out just right here, do you have my mouse pointer right now? Is that here we create a button, but we don't assign the variable, or uh, let me correct that. We don't assign the value of dictionary type t kinter to any variable. Why? Why we don't do that? Because we don't need to change anything in the bottom like our previous page. In this time, we don't need to change anything in the bottom. We only need to change the text field variable. And by having a text field variable, output field, in this case, we can possibly change it. So we change the output field by assigning result by set text to output field in the middle of the program. So because it's going to be modified in the middle of the program, we need to have a variable. But as you can see, let me see, we need to have a variable for input field also, because we need to get our text variable with get text function from our input field variable. So that one was a good point to point out. If you want to get or modify anything, we need to have a variable. But if we want just a functionality, a button to be functional, functional, have functionality to call something, and we don't want it to modify that button, we don't need to assign any value of that button to any value. You just need to command equals this module convert, and by that we can call this module. I'm taking some time to write this. I always not taking everything. So every time I wanted to start coding in any company, any computer programming, any project, I just by having my notebook, I have lots of resources. That's why I normally put lots of time to put these small notes. Okay, let me go ahead and pretty cool, huh? Hello again, everyone. Here we are together to study some, have some fun. I mean, not just a study, I really have lots of fun. Okay, note that init method contains about 80% of the program's code. This method is concerned with setting up the window components. So we already talked about that. Um, when it asks me why programmers normally set the window without specifying the functionality, and I said because to see how it feels, how it looks, they only call the class by init, and they only set the window components. The actual program logic is just the 3 lines of code in the convert method. This logic, which takes input data, computes a result and output. This result is similar to the logic of the following. Read closely. Ridiculously simple terminal based program. Yeah. We input the text from the user and set that variable to upper and output that result. But there is a big difference. What do you think? What is the difference between this and this big guy? What is the difference? The only difference is GUI, graphical user interface, that most of our devices are relied on and all of users are relied on. So if you only can code this big little boy, you cannot do anything. You need to do these things to create this to people can use. Although the programmer can use a text field for the input and output of numbers, the data must be converted to strings after input and before output. Okay, we are talking about integer and float fields for numeric data. Okay, we're talking about inputting and outputting the text, or and I mean, let me correct that, the integer and floats to text fields. It says we need to make the integer data or float data to a string data, and then we can output it to text field to be shown to user. The data must be converted to string after input. Okay, it even says, okay, why? It says that we get or input some integer or float data from the user as a integer data type, but we need to convert it to a string. I don't understand this part. Let me go ahead and we will see. But the second part is that to output the integer data, we need to convert it to strings and then we can output it to text fields. The data must be converted to strings after input And before that, to simplify the programmer's task, Breezy Python GUI includes this Breezy Python GUI is a class that makes the T Kinter class way simpler. Let me just check something. Okay, let's go ahead. Two types of data fields. Oh, we have two types of data field called integer field and float field for the input and output of integers and floating point numbers respectively. Interesting. The methods add integer fields and add float fields or methods are similar in usage to the method add text field. This method that we already worked with, discussed earlier. However, instead of an initial text attribute, however, instead of an initial mhm, it means instead of the prior text, programmer supplies a value. Okay, yeah, it means like we instead of enter your first and last name, it asks for example 13 9 2002, for example. It just this initial text is a number. This value must be an integer for an integer variable, but can be either an integer or a floating point for a float field. The default bit of an integer field is 10 characters, whereas the default field of a float field is 20. Do you remember what was the width of the string text field? I'm sure that 80% of you remember that was 20. This was yeah, integer 10 and float 20. The method float field follows an optional. Let me see if I wrote everything in the previous one. Yeah, I think I did. The method add float field follows an optional precision argument. Its value is an integer that specifies the precision of the number displayed in the field. It means, I think, in the floating fold precision. The method get number and set number are used for the input and output of numbers with integer and floating fold. The conversion between numbers and strings is performed automatically. So it seems conversion between string and numbers is so important in number fields. But it is automatically, so we don't need to care about. Our example program takes an input integer from a field. Comes the square root of this value and outputs the result rounded to the nearest hundred. And outputs the result rounded to the nearest hundreds to a second field. Rounded to nearest hundreds, I don't understand it. Shows an interaction with this program. And the code follows. Number fields demo. Okay. Oh, nearest hundreds. Maybe that's maybe just two floating point precision. That's unique. Number field demo. Easy frame. Okay. Before I go ahead, I wanted to point something important to you. This breezy Python GUI. This is a um a modified version of Tinter class, which is very complicated and hard class. So we need this class and we need to import it. So but already we need part of this. We don't need to import all of the methods and all of the functionalities, everything from this. We only need to build our window. So we need to import some part of that class. So we need to import, we write in the top of our program from breezy Python GUI import easy frame. Easy frame is the most of things that we need for our um window that we right. So this easy frame, because we import this easy frame from this breezy Python GUI, we also can create it here again and as a part of this class, somewhat related to this class, and use it. And by assigning self to our variables, we actually um, can use this whole class. Right, where we are. Okay, use the integer. Okay, it starts from beginning. So we set a window here, easy frame, and from the init we open easy frame, or from easy frame we open init, or so as a whole thing we open a window and start to put our variable and our widgets. First widget is a label that shows an integer in the column 0 and row 0. In the column 0, let me correct that. In the column 1 and row 0, it means in the next to that text and integer, we have a integer field that returns some data to input field. So we have a variable here with width of 10. We already know, since it is integer field, its default width is 10. We have another label text square root in row 1 column 0, and we have another field by type float in row 1 with width 8, Precision 2, that's what it means. Rounded to nearest hundredth, hundredth. Uh, by a state of read only. Okay, let's go for the code. We have this field of integer. We have this label, we have this field of float with precision and state read only. Then we have a button. On the button, it writes compute and um, this one is so important, column span. Since we have a label and we have a text field or integer field, we occupy one and two columns. So our bottom should occupy two columns. That's why we need to specify this bottom should occupy two column span. and then compute square. This button doesn't return any value, but only calls compute square. And then we create this number variable. We get the number. Okay, get number, that number. Before I started this video, I was recording another video and my microphone wasn't working and I didn't know that. On that video, I was more talking about my previous experiences, and I showed my whole handbook. And in my handbook, some part of my handbook, I had this math.sqrt. Um, so I mean, I have a pretty good source of information in my handbook, and I have lots of things in it. Self output. All right. Let's just read this paragraph without having our camera on. The program as written will run correctly if the input are integers and these integers are greater than or equal to 0. If the input is not an integer or is a negative integer, Python raises an exception. And if the Python is terminal based, it crashes. You learn about exceptions like dividing by 0 and using an index out of range in earlier chapter. So this exceptions is an important topic. Let me write it here. Crash. Five by zero. And using an index out of range. I don't remember if I have exceptions in my handbook, so I'm going to make sure I have it here somewhere. However, when a GUI based program raises an exception, the GUI stays live, allowing the user to edit the input and continue. But a stark raise appears in the terminal window. We next examine how to trap such errors and respond carefully with error messages. Oh, interesting. Using pop-up message bar. Really good for us. Really, really, really good for us. We are 8.5. 6. Wow. 8.7. Oh, wow. Yeah. I wonder if I can video reading the whole 8.7 or not. Oh, it is long. It is so long. But we get it. Okay, let's start that real quick. When raise in a good base program, popping up a dialog window with an error message. Such error usually the result of invalid data. From the text error pops up the dialog to inform when the user chooses the dialog. So the port takes error, the dialog to inform the user, and then the user closes the dialog, continues to accept and check input data. In a terminal-based program, this process usually requires an explicit loop structure. In a GUI-based program, Python's implicit event-driven loop new. So Python's implicit event-driven loop continues to process automatically. We have explicit, we have implicit. Implicit is when you purposely do something manually. Kind of implicit. Or I am wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, right? To um yes, I am correct. So implicit, so Python implicitly do a loop that is driven by events. Continues the process automatically. Okay, yeah. It means that Python event driven loop means like when even if bad events happen, Python figures that out and stops there and doesn't crash. And it it's doing that automatically. So the overall thing is it when an error happens, the GUI Python doesn't crash because it is implicitly driven, event driven loop created by Python that does that automatically. In this section, we modify an earlier program example to show how this works. You have seen example of error caused by attempting to byte by zero or using a list index that is out of bounds. Python raises an exception or downtime error when these events occur. The square root program raises an exception of type value error if the input datum is not an integer. If the input datum input datum is like maybe input data or so, like datum is like numbers. If the input datum is not an integer, yeah, that data that should be integer not be integer, or is a negative integer. To recover gracefully from this event, we can modify the code of these programs computer score method by embedding it in Python's try except statement. Try, accept. Whoa. So I am honored to pronounce to you a new statement that is very exceptional, very important. That is called try accept. Try accept is so important. Normally, when I try anything in chat GPT, it uses try accept always. But I never knew what is that. And I always try to get away from it and wondered what is that, and was thinking I will never know it in this semester, maybe in the future. But look at that in front of you guys and ladies. Farham Pazirai is facing the try accept statement for first time. Such a consequence. The syntax of this statement is a bit like that if, like that of the if else statement. Try this except this. If this, else this. Except statements that might raise an exception. Mm-hmm. Except exception type statements to recover from the exception. Important. Try. Number equals self input field. Get number. You get number from input field to number. Result have square of number. We output the result to output field. Except value error. Value error. This is a value error exception type. We might have several exception types. Exception type. Value error. Um, self message. Message box. We have a message box method here. What is message box? Let's go and try statements that might raise this exception. Except Maintenance. All right, I wrote these um part of Python here. In the try call, our program attempt to input the data, compute results, output result as before. Have an exception is arise anywhere in this process. Control shifts immediately to the exception. Accept to the accept class. Here in our example, the program pops up the message box with the appropriate message from and interaction with the program and the modified code follow. Input must be an integer. Wow. Wow. Message box. My light was off. I'm sorry. Python will raise the value in the get number method. If the datum is not an integer or the mm, math sqrt function if the integer is negative. If either case, the exception clause traps the exception and allows the user to break the input after closing the message box. A message box is a useful way to alert the user to any special event, even if it is not an input error. Oh, it's good, yes. If it is not an input error, um, means like if that's a kind of data that we don't want, it is not necessarily incorrect, but we still don't like that kind of high or low value. Explain why you would not use a text field to perform input and output of numbers. Mhm. Because text fields should be a string. Um, this is the point. This question was fooling me or so, but I got its point. It's asking for text field because it's taking the string and it might be not beneficial. Let's go for this statement and check if it is correct. Mm. For example, if in JavaScript, if you have a text field with the value 42 and you try to perform addition with another number such as text field at value plus 5, the result will be a string concentrating healing 425 instead of expecting numerical result of 47. Alright, so overall it says that um when you write, for example, 23 number, like 23, a number that is 23 in a text field, it stores it as um some string data type, and you should convert it to a string to be able to use it. And you cannot use those values as a integer and simply do operations on it. So just let's go to our exercise. Yeah, overall, those are the string number datas, and if we want to get number data, we want to use um, integer field or float field. Write a line of code that adds a float field. Float field. The window with an initial value of 0 with a width of 0 self add float field. Value of 0 0 row equal column equal 1 in the grade with an initial width equals 15 per. What happens when you enter number with a decimal point into an integer field? It just treats it as an integer. Do you remember this talk about that? I think I remember that was talking about this real quick. But I don't specifically remember what it says. But in my logic is that it should treat the float as an int. Let's go and ask Perplexity. Yeah, my logic was correct, even though didn't remember. That was correct. It it reads it as an integer value. It turns it to integer and right. When would you make a data field read only? And how would you do this? When I don't want the user to uh, so I want to remember without looking to my handbook. This is a challenge for myself to remember. That was a state. No, a state was when you want to activate like disable or normal the bottom. Read only. I think that was a state. I use a state attribute. I'm not sure if attribute here is correct. Yeah, that was a state. Attribute. Sticky. That's not attribute. I've used equals it only. Saying what happens when a program receives a non-numerical string. When a number is expected as empty and explains the try except statement can be of use in this. Certainly didn't talk about this topic. Certainly. It only talk about if it be 0, less than 0, and um, if the index in the loop be outside the range. But I going to just say without seeing something. Let's just see it in the perplexity. But I was wanted to say just what it says here. Value error. Yeah, value error. Sorry for noise. It yeah, value. Cell. Um, no. It says explains. I cannot just write the code. I should explain. So you remember that was about redo it. Hmm. Is anybody know how to fix this kind of issue? I only know that way. But there is still a issue. Actually, I am answering this question, but there is a special word to correctly answer this question. And I was going to write that down to my handbook, but I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't. So I'm going to just answer this and come back to find that answer for my knowledge. Mhm. That was this. That wasn't that important. That wasn't that big thing that I was thinking. I was thinking more like, oh, I can add the other thing too. I was thinking about that Python looking for a specific word in the air and um, undo from that. But I already wrote that, but I'm going to also add the other thing. Do you remember what we were talking about? The automatic events driven loop. We're going to also add that here. Very now I looking for that way of event loop in Python. Program as shown and integers are greater than if the input text is not an integer or is a negative integer, Python raises an exception. And if the program is terminal based, if the program is being it crashes. You will learn about exceptions like division by zero and using an index out of range. Then a GUI-based program raises an exception. Still, this is not about that loop that I was looking for. I lost that loop. But I think that's it. I don't want to take it longer. Thank you everyone that was watching. And we had lots of fun and learning new things when you don't know anything and see new things for the first time is the best thing that may happen for anyone. So we will continue.